many ways to measure innovation, but perhaps the most elemental yardstick, at least where technology is concerned, revolves around the job that the technology in question lets you do. All other things being equal, breakthrough that lets you execute two jobs that were impossible before is twice as innovative as a breakthrough that lets you do only one new thing. But that measure YouTube was significantly more innovative than HDTV, despite the fact that HDTV was a more complicated technical problem. YouTube let you publish, share, rate, discuss, and watch video more efficiently than ever before. HDTV let you watch more pixels than ever before, but even with all those extra layers of innovation, YouTube went from idea to mass adoption in less than two years. Something about the web environment had enabled Harley Chan and Karim to unleash a good idea on the world with astonishing speed. They took the 10 from 10 rule and made it 1 from 1. This is a book about the space of innovation. Some environments squelch new ideas. Some environments seem to breed them effortlessly. The city and the web have been such engines of innovation because for complicated historical reasons. They are both environments that are powerful, suited for the creation, diffusion and adoption of good ideas. Neither environment is perfect by any means. Think of crime rates in big cities, or the explosion of spam online. But both the city and web possess an undeniable track record at generating innovation. In the same way, the myriad tiny architects of Darwin's coral reef create an environment where biological innovation can flourish. If we want to to understand where good ideas come from, we have to put them in context. Darwin's world-changing idea unfolded inside his brain, but think of all the environments and tools he needed to piece it together. A ship, an archipelago, a notebook, a library, a coral reef. Our thought shapes the spaces inhabit, and our spaces return the favor. The argument of this book is that a series of shared properties and patterns recur again and again in usually fertile environments. I have distilled them down into seven patterns, each one occupying a separate chapter. The more we embrace these patterns in our private work habits and hobbies, in our office environments, in the design of new software tools, the better we will be at tapping our extraordinary capacity for innovative thinking. These patterns turn out to have a long history, much older than most of the system that we conventionally associate with innovation. This history is particularly rich because it is not exclusively limited to human creations like the internet or the metropolis. And the amplification and adoption of useful innovation exists throughout natural history as well. Coral reefs are sometimes called the cities of the sea, and part of the argument of this book is that we need to take the metaphor seriously. The reef ecosystem is so innovative in its exploitation of those nutrient poor waters, because it shares some defining characteristics with actual cities. In the language of complexity theory, these patterns of innovation and creativity are fractal. They reappear in recognizable form as you zoom in as you and out from molecule to neuron to pixel to sidewalk. Whether you are looking at the original innovations of carbon-based life, or the explosion of new software tools on the web, the same shapes, the same shapes, the same shape. The same shapes keep turning up. When life gets creative, it has a tendency to gravitate toward certain recurring patterns, whether those patterns are emerged and self-organizing, or whether they are deliberately crafted by human agents. It may seem odd to talk about such different regions of experience as though they were interchangeable, but in fact we are constantly making equivalent conceptual leaps from biology to culture without blinking. It is not a figure of speech to say that the pattern of competition, a term of associated with innovation, plays a critical role in the behavior of marketplaces, in the interaction between a swarm of sperm cells and an egg, and in the ecosystem scale battle between organisms for finite energy sources. We are not using a metaphor of economic competition to describe the struggles of those sperm cells. The meaning of the word competition is wide, or perhaps deep enough to encompass sperm cells and corporations. The same principle applies to the seven patterns I have assembled here. Traveling across these different environments and scales is not merely intellectual tourism. Science long ago realized that we can understand something better by studying its behavior in different contexts. when we want to answer a question like why was the web being so innovative, we naturally invoke thoughts of thoughts of its creators and the workspaces, organizations, and information networks they use it in building it. But it turns out that we can answer the questions more comprehensively if we draw analogies to patterns of innovation that we see in ecosystems like Darwin's coral reef, or in the in the structure of the human brain. We have we have no shortage of theories to instruct us how to make our organizations more creative, or explain why tropical rainforests engineer so much molecular diversity. What we lack is a unified theory that describes the common attributes shared by all of those innovation systems. Why is a coral reef such an engine of biological innovation? Why do cities have such an extensive history of idea creation? Why was Darwin able to hit upon a theory that so many brilliant contemporaries of his missed? No doubt, there are partial answers to these questions that are unique to each situation and each scale. The ecological history of the reef, the society of urban life, the intellectual biography. Biography of a scientist. But the argument of this book is that there are other more interesting answers that are applicable to all three situations, and that boy approaching the problem in this fractal cross cross-disciplinary way, new insights become visible. Watching the ideas spark on these different scales reveals patterns that single scale observations easily miss or undervalue. I call that Vatanga Vat Vanta I call that vantage point the long zoom. It can be imagined as a kind of hourglass. By you descend toward the center of the glass biological scales contract from the global deep time of environment to the microscopic exchange of neurons or DNA at the certain of the glass. The perspective shifts from nature culture, and the scales widen from individual thoughts and private workspaces to immense cities and global information networks. When we look at the history of innovation from the vantage point of the long zoom, what we find is that unusually generative environments display similar patterns of creativity at multiple scales simultaneously. You can't explain the you can't explain the biodiversity of the coral reef by simple studying the genetics of the coral ites. Coral itself, and the reef generates sustainable sustains so many different forms of life because of patterns that recur on the scales of cells, organisms, and the wider ecosystem itself. The sources of innovation in the city and the web are equally fractal. In this sense, seeing the problem of innovation from innovation from the long zoom perspective 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 and that's not just giving us new metaphors. It gives us new facts. The patterns and the patterns of competition is an excellent case in point. Every economics textbooks will tell you that competition between rival firms leads to innovation in their products and series. But when you look at innovation from the long zoom perspective, competition turns out to be less central to the story. Central to the history of good ideas then we generally think. And analyzing innovation on the scale of individuals and organizations are the standard textbooks do distort our view. It creates a picture of innovation that competition the long zoom approach let us see that openness and connectivity may in the end be more valuable to innovate than pure competitive machines. Mechanisms. Those patterns of innovation deserve recognition in part because it's intrinsically important to understand the good ideas emerge historical and in path because by embracing these patterns we can build environments that do a better job of nurturing good ideas, whether those environments are schools, government, software, platinums, poetry, seminar, or social numbers, social social movements. We can think more creatively if we open our minds to the many connected environments that make creativity possible.